Kevin Wang, co-founder of Nervos Network. Happy to be here at REIMAGINE.
Hello and welcome to Reimagine 2021. This is our ninth conference in a monthly series of events, bringing you nothing but the best projects, bright minds, and leaders in the space. We've been fortunate enough to invite many talented individuals and teams to come speak with us, providing updates, insights, and all the above that's happening in crypto. We've done a themed event pretty much every month. We've done What the Fi is DeFi after DeFi summer. We've done Tales from the Crypto during Halloween. We've done Happy HODL Days. We just did NFTs, state of the art chain, which is super exciting. And now our next theme for June for this conference is Game of Chains, Battle for the Throne. We're talking to a bunch of base layers, layer ones, layer twos, the pros and cons, advantages, really just shedding light on what kind of technology they offer for developers, for investors, and really educating our audience, you that's tuned in to watch this. I'll be your host today from the MouseBelt team, where we focus on early stage investments through our accelerator program, providing development support to a number of growing projects, as well as education within our MouseBelt University program. So our main objective and goals are increasing adoption, use cases, and real world applications. It's pretty straightforward. I'm happy to have a special guest of ours. He's been on the show at least once or twice. Nervos is a partner of ours on the Blockchain Education Alliance, supporting students, clubs, organizations globally as much as we can to give back and contribute and make sure everybody understands what blockchain is and how we develop on it. So without further ado, Kevin Wang, co-founder of the Nervos Network. How you doing, Kevin? Thank you for joining me today.
Hey, Adam, how are you? Good to be here.
Awesome. So, I've been working with your team now for quite some time, and the Nervos kind of community in general. Super great team. Super how should I say, involved and engaged with the ecosystem, the community. I'm based in SF, so I've seen Nervos for quite some time. So very fortunate there. Thank you for joining. Let's kind of get into it. Let's talk about a little bit of your background as an engineer and how you got into blockchain. We have a lot of current Web 2.0 devs trying to think of a career move. Should I do this, do that, right? And I'm sure you went down kind of the same thought process and path. So give us a little background as you as an engineer, and then what kind of led you into blockchain?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was trained as a software engineer and started my career working in like a research lab in a large company. So IBM Silicon Valley lab, worked on big data solutions. I think I think for a lot of us that got into blockchain was Bitcoin. And again, this is quite a few years ago. And for me, from the last financial crisis, I started to sort of self-educate myself about economic theories and understand, trying to understand, what was going on, and at the same time, sort of ran into Bitcoin, the white paper, and then read it. I think for me as a software engineer, I definitely was very much attracted to a different way how standardized systems can be built. But on the other hand, I think the message of a sound money and then sort of borderless currency, and then doesn't belong to anyone but belong to everyone. That was just very appealing from philosophical point of view. So I think more than anything else, that got me into Bitcoin and into the blockchain industry. I think sort of continue on what you just said. I think for software developers, this is a really exciting place. I definitely encourage everybody to at least use a weekend and tip your toe into this. And I think trying to understand what this new platform is about. I think a lot of folks. I mean, I come from this background, and just whenever there's a new platform, there are just a lot of opportunities. And then whenever you have sort of the paradigm shift, if you will, if we go back to uh, decades ago when you shift from hardware to sort of this sort of open hardware or commoditized hardware. like there's like this is where Apple was founded, opportunities, and then you go from hardware to software, and then this is when the likes of Microsoft was founded, and then you go from uh, sort of control of software to like open source software. Now there's a new platform to be built, internet, and open source. And then you can argue this is a lot of the giants that we have today, and this is when they're built. And then now, what blockchain does is really open up that monopoly again, right? So no, they will no longer have monopoly of data. Now everybody has access to data, and on blockchain. So I definitely believe this is like a new era, and great opportunity, great time for developers to jump on board.
No, that's great. I mean, the evolution, right, from Web 2.0, Web 3.0, centralized, systems to decentralized systems, maybe putting the control back into, for those tuning in or watching Reimagine, they'll probably get the sense of feeling that this technology really gives the power back to the end user in some capacity, in some degree within their application. Currently, we give up a lot of our info and data, and let's try and hone that back, as much as we can. So,
Mhm.
so where does Nervos fit in all this? The theme of this conference is Game of Chains, Battle for the Throne, and really, it's just a concept in terms of there were a lot of blockchains created, attempted. You guys, I mean, I've heard of Nervos now for a few years, based here in San Francisco. You guys seem to weather the storm, have always just been, in development, producing things. You have a lot of dApps, on the network, and just really engaging the community in terms of resources and being available. So let's talk about what Nervos is and kind of maybe some of the nuances to share that that we can learn about.
Yeah, I think the way we look at where the industry is, obviously it's still very early, and it's a open platform, just like the internet is. So if you use the internet as analogy, I think we're at the time when this is probably before the modern web browser, right? This is way early, and then people are using applications attached to specific networks and specific servers. So this is pretty much like today, right? We have multiple blockchains, and then if you want to use applications on them, then you have to use a specific wallet. You have to use have to know how to interact with them, and then you will have access to their native token, and then the tokens issued on these platforms, and so on and so forth, right? So it's pretty much segmented paradigm for users. The only place, the only sort of the only use case I would say that actually works, and then be able to provide user the seamless sort of crossing experience or interoperability experience is centralized exchange. Because once you go on centralized exchange, yes, you can do this one thing, which is trading cryptocurrencies. Super smooth experience, and then you don't have to care about which blockchain you're interacting with. The app just abstracts all that out of the way. So what we are trying to do, and what we believe is, this is for the blockchain in general, as a big industry, this is where we're going as well. We just need to figure out how to solve the problem, right? We just need to figure out how to get a plumbing, connecting all these platforms. And then there are several issues, right? Connect all the platforms, and then provide user with the seamless user experience. And also, it just like a modern web browser, abstract away the differences between particulars of different blockchains, so that when you launch applications, when developer launch applications, users from anywhere can use the application, and then assets from all the blockchains can be utilized by the application, right? Again, just like the centralized exchange experience. Um, Users go there and they can self custody of their cryptocurrencies and funds, and then just whatever applications, DeFi, NFT and other type applications, and they can just go and use the applications instead of reaching all the way to the bottom of this abstraction and then have blockchain specific concerns that they have to be aware of and take care of.
So how does so what are some of the features? What are some of the features that the Nervos Network offers in terms of, maybe at a high level? Maybe we can chat about a little about scalability, throughput, and you kind of just touched on some of the things that that we're trying to work on in terms of infrastructure and all that. Well, what are some of the features if people were looking up Ethereum and Polkadot or some of these other chains in the world? What kind of differentiators does Nervos present itself?
Yeah. So again, we can continue, the topic we're talking about just now. To be able to enable that experience, right? The blockchain have to be designed in a specific way. For example, every blockchain uses different crypto primitives, right? So on the infrastructure side, so to provide a trustless platform that abstract away that difference between different blockchains. On the the crypto structure side, crypto primitive side, I mean, you have to be super flexible. So you can plug in any of these primitives, and then so that you can, trustlessly connect to everybody. Now, we have seen applications trying to do the same. If you look at, some of the leading apps, a lot of them are doing multiple platform deployments, like, for example, Compound. So they build a new blockchain, and then on this new blockchain, they connect to multiple blockchains, and then they have to build in all these primitives themselves, right? So depending on which blockchain they want to connect. So the way I look at it, it's like back in the day, we had Bitcoin, and then we want to enable multiple experiences, and then we just keep adding opcodes into Bitcoin, right? But now we know what actually works is Ethereum. You have a virtual machine, and you can program whatever you want, and then not just keep adding in opcodes manually. So what we're trying to do is the same, to really build this network of connecting different blockchains to enable that universal experience, right? It's not good enough just to keep adding precompiles of primitives and for like every hard fork of the blockchain, right? So fundamentally, it has to be flexible enough to be able to connect to everybody. Also, because we are now sort of the connecting tissue of every blockchain, and then we want to be easier to launch applications on this. The abstraction level has to be very low, right? So in other words, if you look at what Nervos does, Nervos uses something called cell model. A cell, which is a piece of data, right? You can think about a piece of memory that applications have access to, and so that's the lowest possible sort of abstraction that you can have. Developers can combine them in any way that they want, instead of sort of handcuffed into the account mode of Ethereum with key value mappings. And similarly, our virtual machine is very low level as well. So we can support any other virtual machines running on top of other virtual machines. So this is all very technical, right? I think the killer feature of our platform is actually the abstraction level, right? So because we're so low level, that it's very easy to bend, our memory model or our virtual machine and our crypto primitives to work with everybody, and that's crucial if you want to have, if you want to have like an internet like infrastructure. Because otherwise, I mean, I've seen, you have seen this cartoon, right? So like, oh, there are 18 different standards. Let's come up with one. So everybody just conform to that, and we're gonna have this new world and just interconnecting with each other. That won't happen. You're just gonna have like 19 different standards. So what we do is we just seamlessly bend into everybody else, and then and you can use us that way, connected to everyone.
what goes into, I've had this discussion the last few days in terms of being interoperable with other chains. How do you guys pick and choose what chain to, collaborate with, partner with? There's a lot of blockchains, right? And then
Mhm.
fundamentally, each chain has their own philosophy, their own kind of, consensus, mechanisms and structuring and all that. What goes into the process to say, hey, we want to, collaborate and partner with chain one, chain two, chain three, and do they have to meet any kind of not a requirement, but like security risk, right? It's not just let's just be interoperable with many chains. I'm
Mhm.
assuming you pick and choose which chain would be suitable as a partner to maintain the integrity of not only like the Nervos network and your users, but also I guess their network and vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, there are some, obvious standards, which is, we want the chain to be in production for some time, and then, has been around. We don't want to partner with a chain, just launched last month, for example. In this space, time is probably the most best measure of security in a way. And other standards are, we want to be able to enable unique experiences for developers on the other platform and users on the other platform. So yeah, so we definitely look at community. We definitely look at um, whether there's a lot of things going on in that space. Yeah, so obvious. I mean, some of the obvious choices are Bitcoin, Ethereum. We recently announced partnership with Cardano as well, and we definitely have plans to extend to more chains.
Nice, nice. And what goes into the developer aspect? We're talking about a lot of interoperability. We're talking about abstraction,
Mhm.
and trying to make this flexible and bending. What do
Mhm.
you guys do to increase, or what do we have to do from your perspective to increase or like to onboard more developers? There's a lot of traditional web devs. And then there's, in the future, there's going to be native kind of web 3.0 devs that are used to this. What
Mhm.
kind of, I don't know, approach or strategy do you guys take maybe specifically, or that you think personally we should do to get more people developing on Nervos?
Yeah, I think the best way, because our founders all came from engineering background, and including myself, right? So the best way really to attract developers is to offer them a platform to build unique products. If people build products, just the same product here versus they can build elsewhere, then it's then you come with like, why do I build here, right? Why do I build someplace else? So I think that's the most important. And this is what we've been working on. And then build these solutions, build these building blocks that we can show people like this is the type of unique products that you can build here that you wouldn't be able to build anywhere else, right? So we have a few applications that will be launching pretty soon. One actually pretty much next week. But yeah, it definitely. I think that's probably the best way. And then obviously we'll do like hackathons. We'll do outreach, and then we talk to developer teams and so on and so forth. But fundamentally, I think the best way is to show them, hey, here's this type of product you can build here. And yeah, we have been met with good success in that way.
Nice, nice, nice. And can you talk about maybe a few projects or a few applications that you're kind of seeing, some that are public or some that you think are going to pop up, but what are some of the projects that you're hoping to see or that you do see that have developed on the Nervos network?
Yeah, I see the upcoming applications mostly fall into two different categories. One is like more on DeFi space, which is we talk about the cross-chain experience and then sort of the abstracts away from different blockchains. So now instead of building dexes and lending apps, for example, just for Ethereum and its tokens, wrap Bitcoin for like exception, but now you can have the entire sort of coin market cap top 100 as at your disposal to be able to build apps, right? So that's and you don't have to focus on one thing. It doesn't have to be just one DEX. It could be lending plus stablecoin. So there's just a lot of design space that can be built there, and we have some people doing that. The other category of apps that we actually see happening quite a bit, and there are some larger ones as well, is actually in the NFT space. again, this is coming back to like the super flexibility of our architecture. Yeah, just 1 second. Yeah. Oops. Yeah. The other space that we see things are happening is the NFT space, um, because again, developers building on Nervos, they found they're able to do unique things with NFTs that they wouldn't be able to do elsewhere. For example, because NFTs are very different from DeFi, right? For DeFi, most users using DeFi today are like crypto people, so to speak, maybe like 1 million. I don't know. I don't have the exact number, but it's definitely smaller than a very or small percentage of the world population. Whereas NFTs, it's a very interesting because a lot of the non-crypto people are very attracted to NFTs, right? So, for example, we've been talking to artists and celebrities and people with a big fan base, and then for them to issue NFTs, the users would be, I mean, they have a lot of fans. They have, and they know nothing about blockchain, and they probably don't care. They care about their idol, or they care about their artist, but they don't care about crypto wallet and so on. But they care about having NFTs, and they know what they are, right? So for them, it's a very, I mean, they want a very different experience, right? They want to be able to just interact seamlessly in an environment where they're already comfortable. For example, some, yes, web browser is still one of them, but a lot of them, for example, in China, happens in WeChat. This is where people buy things. This is where people meet with friends. This is where people interact, and so on and so forth. So they just want to operate in there, right? And then I'm sure in other countries there are like Line, other chat apps as well. And then again, almost all of them have their unique cryptographic infrastructure that we can hook into. And this is why we talk about the universal applications, right? So, I mean, everything is the platform. It's not just about multiple blockchain, including like real world applications. We want your application to run everywhere, right? And again, mobile devices, right? So, I mean, very few people have crypto wallets, but everybody has a mobile phone.
Yeah.
And then the modern mobile phones, what do they have? They have, you can scan your face. They have secure enclaves. You can put your private keys in there. A lot of the Samsung phones. So, and this is where I think when we talk about decentralized applications or apps, really get into the mainstream. I mean, you have to imagine and envision like a future like that. So we see a lot of applications, especially the NFT space, are happening because developers realize this is the only choice that they can have to be able to reach out to mainstream users, to let people use the app where they feel comfortable and they're used to, in the ways that they're familiar with. Also, not every, like when people send NFTs to each other, don't let them go to Binance to buy some ether and then to pay for and gas. I mean, it's just not going to work, right? Just click a button, then it's sent, right? So something happen under the cover, take care of transaction fees and stuff like that. Again, if you come, if you're technical coming from the Bitcoin UTXO space, you probably know like open transactions and then what that means and everything. But again, that's pretty unique that we can enable. But I'm going a little bit too technical here. But yeah, I think coming back to your question, we see a bunch of cross-chain DeFi apps in the pipeline, and also like quite a few, and some of their exciting NFT projects as well.
Well, no, that's great, and you touched on a lot of like critical aspects of not only DeFi but NFTs. And you're right. I think obviously DeFi boomed, had a lot of TVL, a lot of assets flowing, a lot of capital, but that was in the crypto sphere.
Yeah.
And NFTs actually were less of a market cap, I guess, and more of an impact of the more of the adoption and more of the broader mass appeal to outside of crypto.
Yeah.
And you're totally right. It wasn't really about the tech as it was about, it's actually kind of the underlying fundamental purpose of blockchain crypto, which is peer-to-peer and engaging like one another, right? So now you have your Instagram lives, your Facebook lives, and you feel, or you could see people's lives and stories. Now this kind of takes it one step where now you're tokenizing like memories and offering right another piece of memorabilia in terms of being digital and being one step closer to your fan base and community, which is what blockchain and crypto are all about. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're just seeing the very much beginning of NFT, DeFi as well, right? DeFi is going to have a long road as well, but NFT, I mean, too, because when we talk about blockchain and real world applications, it almost always means NFT. Because the real world, people are not fungible products, and places. Nothing is fungible other than money, other than finance stuff. So.
Going back to what you said, did I hear this right? Kind of the universal application that you're building. Nervos is providing a network, a layer where the idea is to be able to transfer in between, regular dApps and other traditional or legacy type of platforms, to also be able to integrate with blockchain networks and protocols itself to interchange like assets and tokens and NFTs and stuff like that. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely
the goal.
Broader, the goal and the broader definition of universal applications. It will probably take us some time to get there, but
definitely.
Again, we're seeing the beginning of it
for sure.
And then really it comes down to anything that has a cryptographic infrastructure, we can seamlessly hook into it, right? Be it other blockchain, be it your internet infrastructure. A lot of internet infrastructure runs on encryption and cryptography. We have a domain name service that's launching like very soon, and then that's kind of take advantage of that, both these aspects, and anything else, and anything developers can have their imagination, and be it user access and wallets and user experience, you can take advantage of a lot of that, and also internet infrastructure side, you can hook into those. So we want to. So ultimately, we want to enable those like internet-like experiences for decentralized apps.
No, yeah, I think that's very important. I think one thing that maybe you can talk about real quick, people will understand. You were talking about domain names.
Yeah.
So people are familiar with domain names. Can you explain how blockchain plays into that and what a domain, leveraging blockchain does for, why would somebody want their domain name on a blockchain, and what are the benefits of doing that? I think people think a website is, or your URL, website address is I don't know, open, or you can't take it down, which is not the case. There's been websites in other countries where they pull the website down, government pulls them down. So I'd like to highlight maybe that where people can kind of understand that a little bit, and understand kind of how blockchain plays a role in this existing technology where they might not otherwise know. And so can you explain like why someone would want a domain on blockchain, or what that benefit provides?
Yeah. Look, domain names, fundamentally, it's just a registry, right? It's just like a mapping from one string to another string, and then, one human readable string to like IP address for the internet, basically. And currently that registry is maintained by, a hierarchical like authority collection of organizations. So yes, if, and a lot of them are within jurisdictions that listen to the government, right? So if in the government they say, hey, let's take this site down, and they will take your site down. And then if users put a domain in the browser, try to map to the query that registry for the server to connect to, they can't, right? And that is where it breaks down. So because blockchain or public blockchain, right, especially layer 1 public blockchains, are designed to be censorship resistant, just like a Bitcoin, Ethereum, Nervos Network. So there are not just one single source of truth or one server that's hosting that registry, or like hierarchical permissioned organization that do that, but everybody can run a copy and replicate it and everything. So if you register your domain name on the blockchain, it cannot be censored. They cannot remove it, right? And users, again, fundamentally, it's just a mapping between a human readable name and the IP address or to a server. Then users can query that registry, right, and then know how to map their, either browser or specific application, and then acquire the content from there. Yeah, so it's the ultimate tool for censorship resistance.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty cool. I think people underestimate or don't think that a lot of these, I don't know, challenges and hurdles when, if you leave the States or depending on where you live in emerging frontier markets, where government has a lot more control than maybe our government in some developed countries, right? And you can't even post a website because it's it's just kind of your beliefs and it doesn't match kind of the government mandate or whatever. And we, and I've seen it happen. Like it's crazy. And so blockchain definitely provides the capabilities of sensor resistance, censorship, and being able to leverage that technology for humankind and to have some control of what you're trying to build or what you're trying to share, that's legal, and we're not talking about anything illegal here, but other items. And so yeah, it's kind of cool that you highlighted that because I think a lot of people can grasp that and really understand like what we're talking about here in general.
Yeah.
Last question or so. I have a couple questions actually. First one, how important is it for, especially in the blockchain space, how important is the community, right? Developer community, user community, technology community for like global growth, right? I mean, this is borderless, Nervos is borderless, the technology is borderless. Anybody can use it, as we've talked about. It's open source, mm-hmm. You can build things on it. But more importantly, and we know this with Ethereum and a few others, right? The community is kind of what drives people to adopt, to continue to use it, even if there are challenges or hurdles or whatnot. They're confident in the platform and the network and the team that's behind it. So how important is community to Nervos and its long-term success?
Yeah, I think it's very much important. And for a public blockchain, there's a diverse set of stakeholders, if you will. There is miners or POS stakers. You have token holders, and then you have developers as well. So collectively, that's your community, right? So obviously, developers are building on the network. Make it the platform more usable, and then more, with more features and more reasons for users to use it. And then you have miners secure the network, just like Ethereum and Bitcoin. And then you also have token holders. So our economic model is designed actually, token holders also play a very important role to secure the network as well. I mean, people can go and read our economic paper on that. So yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we want to make sure that everybody are incentivized to contribute to the permissionless protocol. And I think right now, as we're bootstrapping the network, there is a centralized foundation to help allocate resources and get the growth started. But definitely, we want to. I mean, all this is to be able to have people, use the network and build on the network and grow the community. That's really the ultimate goal.
Great. And you bring up some good, I couldn't think of the word, but stakeholders, community Nervos stakeholders, and that spans across not just, foundation members or team members, but the miners, the token holders, the developers, yep. Everybody that's contributing, right? And everybody plays a role. And that's kind of the good thing about blockchain is that It kind of vets out those that are believers, not believers, and supports those that are believers and not believers, and incentivizes them for helping out, one way or another. So that's
Mhm.
great. Last question here. Do you think there is a winner? And we kind of just talked about a lot of interoperability, so there's a lot of chains. But the theme of this topic is, or the theme of the conference is Game of Chains, Battle for the Throne. So a lot of blockchains are doing their thing. Some have fallen by the wayside. Some have maintained.
Mhm.
Nervos seems to be going even stronger since I've seen them, years past. Is there a winner take all? How do you see kind of the blockchain landscape playing out? Is it one chain, 10 chains, or hundreds of chains? And it could be general purpose or even niche, specific chains for some specific. But what are your thoughts on a winner take all here?
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's going to be winner takes all. And I think, uh, like you said, I mean, there are going to be application specific blockchains. There are going to be more industry focused blockchains. There are going to be blockchains that the operators or their users have um, specific reasons, and some being more regulatory compliant, and some being more support specific use cases, or supply chain and whatnot. So you just have so many different contexts for blockchain tech to exist. It's very difficult for me to imagine that it's going to be one chain that will just and that's it. Now, I think the topology in my mind, what will happen is, I think there will be a few important blockchains or layer one blockchains, and then they have their own like constellations, right? They have their own, side chains or layer twos or application specific blockchains, or their niche, the main use cases they will enable, and they have their own community. Um, and then you have these sort of cross-chain protocols that make sure like these superhighways connecting these important sidechains. And then yeah, I mean there were probably just many applications directly run on these layer ones, but as time go by, I think the layer ones that survive will become more and more sort of store of value, or layer of settlements, and then giving security and storing assets for like layer twos or other chains connecting to them. um, that I see is probably the more likely outcome. um, uh, you know because one, layer one blockchains are very, it takes a long time, a lot of R&D and research to build. So I don't see there will be many like general purpose layer one blockchains, like for example, hundreds of them at the end of the day. And then there's this network effect. So so I don't think there will be too many. On the other hand, even general purpose layer one blockchains can have their specific niche in terms of technology trade-offs. Either performance or decentralization, security, and all that, right? I think for us, we take the trade-off of very decentralized and censorship resistance, and then also being a core store of value blockchain, and then also we give like this, very flexible and higher level abstraction. So this is where we want to be, and then we see ourselves going into one of these hubs, but also connecting all these main blockchains. So yeah, so that's how I see it. And there are many specialized purpose, special purpose blockchains, and they don't have to be super secure. They don't have to be super generalized and so on and so forth. They just need to do what a developer want them to do, and they likely in the end attach to these one of these layer ones.
Yeah, you bring up some interesting thoughts there, and I haven't heard that before. But like, yeah, I could see that where there's some base layers and layer ones, right, that are providing a lot of the foundational security and I don't know, finality, right, on chain, and then you probably have some other tiers and layers beyond that will help some of the scaling and provide specific use cases and all that. But that's interesting. No, this has been a great discussion, Kevin. Like, again, we appreciate kind of Nervos's support overall. You guys are one of our partners on the Blockchain Education Alliance side. We're working with you on some development stuff, which has been going great. And you guys have been a really great team over the last few years here based in San Francisco. And so, we look forward to having, if not you again, obviously somebody else from Nervos to kind of represent as we continue to host these conferences and really just educate everybody else that's just coming into blockchain. But in the end, there's a lot of information that we talk about that's really for everybody, whether you're an expert, advanced, or even a novice or just an enthusiast trying to understand like what blockchain is and what each team is doing. And so I appreciate you coming on here to talk about kind of interoperability, universal applications, how you guys look, how you and your team look at blockchain technology and kind of the purpose of why you've built, Nervos in general and the whys. So again, I appreciate you coming on here. Where can people learn more about the Nervos Network? Where should they tune in for updates and insights?
The obvious choice, we have a Telegram they can go to for the community. We have a Twitter account they can follow, and also just nervos.org. That's our website.
Awesome. Well, again, Kevin, thank you for joining. This is Kevin Wang, co-founder of the Nervos Network. Everybody tuning in to Reimagine 2021. Thank you for listening in. We're hoping you're having a good time. You can catch some of our other interviews with Kevin at our Reimagine YouTube channel. Go ahead and check that out, along with our hundreds of hours of content and video for you to dive into. So again, Kevin, thank you for participating. We hope to have you back, and we'll see you again.
Absolutely. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.